So I want you to imagine yourself for a minute that you're standing on the edge of a body of water with a large crowd of people all around you. And out in the water in a boat, a little ways out is Jesus. And Jesus is calling everyone to come follow him. And as he's saying that, a few people start moving from the crowd and others start moving into the water and they're starting to swim out to Jesus. And as they get closer to Jesus, he's helping them into the boat. And I want you to picture in that moment as Jesus now starts, the boat is full and is starting to sail away. In that moment, are you a voyeur or a voyager? Are you someone standing on the beach watching Jesus sail away? Or were you one that jumped in the water and are going to go on that voyage with him? You see, following Jesus is about being in the boat. Following Jesus is like being in the game. He wants us to make a difference. He's not calling us just to sit on the sidelines cheering for other people. Oh, you did it. You made it into the boat. No, he wants you to be in the game. He is calling you and I to run with passion with him. You see, one of the problems we have in life is a lot of times we mistake movement for mission. We mistake movement for progress. We mistake being busy for fulfilling purpose. Jesus isn't just calling us to be busy. In fact, Jesus isn't calling us to add more things to our lives. He's calling us to follow him so we can make an impact. I think too many of us face one of two major problems. Either we're so busy in our everyday lives, we've got no time to add one more thing when it comes to following Jesus. Or we're not sure the next thing that we're supposed to do with Jesus, and so we just sit and wait because we're not sure if we can make it out to the boat, not sure if we can do the next thing or what God's called us to do. You and I need to remember that Jesus has called us to follow him. And as we're following him, we're called to be active, to grow, to move, to make a difference. Again, here's the problem. Because we're so busy, we have a hard time thinking how we could add something back into our lives. And we just sit in one spot spinning our wheels when it comes to following Jesus. This is why Jesus said, seek first the kingdom of God. All the rest of it will be added to you if you put his agenda first. See, when it comes to our lives, we don't have a resource problem. It's not that we don't have enough time to do the things that Jesus has called us to, and we don't have a direction problem. It really isn't that we're not sure which direction to go. What you and I have is a passion problem. We're not sure if we're passionate enough to follow Jesus, because when you have a passion, you will move mountains to get to where you need to go. When you have passion, you'll be willing to run a marathon. When you have the passion, you won't stay on the beach. You will do whatever it takes to get out into that boat. You and I need to be so passionate about building God's kingdom. Several years ago, I was in a meeting with a bunch of pastors, and John Maxwell was leading this time. And there are a few of us in the room, but he said something that was very profound. He was talking about all the leadership training that he does around the world, and that he says when he speaks to business leaders, he can give them just an idea and they will run and they'll chase it, but it's not the same when it comes to the church. And this is what he said. He said, business people love money more than Christians love souls. That had a profound impact on me, because when you and I have a passion for God's kingdom, we're not going to be complacent. We're going to do something for Jesus. We're going to do less with the rest of our life so we can do more for Jesus. There's just something within us that has to be with Jesus. And I know what a lot of you are asking. Well, what is it that I should do? I want to do something for Jesus. All you need to do to start is to do something that God is passionate about. Start moving in the direction that Jesus is calling us. You see, God can't steer a parked car. He needs us to be moving, and he'll adjust us and help us. You just need to understand, what is God passionate about? And if you start doing those things, you will have a passion for what God has called you to. This is why practicing Sabbath and having daily devotion time where we pause and reflect is so important to running fast. Because when we pause and we get our orientation right, when we slow down, we're with God, we reset our lives and we're getting the right perspective on him and what he's called us to, we can then run the rest of the week faster than we thought possible because we're going in the right direction. So as we go into our discussion this week, I want you to ask this question. What would shift in your life if you just stopped chasing everything and you only started chasing those things that set your soul on fire? How would your life look different? Several years ago, there was a young lady who was at an airport in Greece. And while she was there, she saw a bunch of pictures about missing young girls. And something in that moment gripped her heart. And she started praying, Lord, what can I do? What can be a difference to help these young girls? And as she prayed, the Lord just kind of kept leaning her into that, and she got a passion for it. She ends up calling local authorities there in Greece and found that there were some young girls that had been found, but they needed a place to stay. And there were some young girls that needed help legally to get them out of the human trafficking that they were in. And she's like, well, I can do that. I can raise money to pay for legal fees. And she starts raising money to pay for legal fees to get these young girls rescued. She starts raising money and calling to people to help them find shelter. And over the next 15 years, Christine Kane had been praying and running fast for what God had called in her life because she just started with a simple thing. And now she has 11 countries that the A21, their organization she started, is running. She's helped take down an international human trafficking cartel. And all of those things started because she started to pause, pray, and start running towards the things that God was passionate about. You see, Jesus is in that boat and he's calling all of us. And we're called to do something. We're called to have less motion and more mission. We're called to prioritize impact over busyness. We need to become passionate about what God is passionate about and learn to do a little bit less so we can accomplish so much more.